Hey everyone, and welcome. So, we're going to dive into a really fascinating paradox today, one that pretty much defines every successful career. It's this constant battle between having unshakable confidence on one hand and real, genuine humility on the other. Now, they sound like total opposites, don't they? But what if I told you that learning to master both of them at the very same time is maybe the most powerful tool you'll ever have?
Just think about your own career for a second. We're always told there are basically two ways to get to the top. You can either be that brilliant, visionary genius who has all the answers, or you can be the humble, collaborative team player that everyone loves working with. But which one actually gets you ahead?
I mean, it feels like this classic trade-off, right? The genius, they've got the vision, they make the tough calls, but they can also be arrogant, kind of brittle when challenged. Then you've got the team player, who's great at collaborating and adapting, but maybe they're a bit indecisive. Maybe they lack that killer vision. Most of us think we have to pick one, but what if that's a total false choice?
Okay, picture this, a huge make-or-break client pitch. You absolutely need that conviction, that kind of narcissistic belief to walk in the room and say, we have the answer. That's what gets you their attention. But to actually win the deal, well, that takes humility. You've got to listen to their feedback, adapt your strategy on the fly, and let the best ideas from your team come to the surface. See? It's never just one or the other. It's always both.
So here's the real secret sauce. Success isn't about picking a personality and sticking with it. Nope, it's about learning how to manage the tension between that powerful self-belief and a real, honest openness to being wrong. It's a dynamic. It's a constant dance. So let's break down how that dance actually works.
First, let's talk conviction. I want you to think of conviction as the engine. Simple as that. Without it, you are going absolutely nowhere. It's the raw horsepower that turns a simple thought into real-world action.
You know, every single game-changing idea, every innovation that totally shifted an industry, it all started with one person, or maybe a small team, who had the guts to look at a problem everyone else was calling impossible and say, you know what? I think we can do this. That's not just hope. That's a deep, core belief.
And what's so fascinating is what happens inside your brain when you do this. When you genuinely believe something is possible, your brain literally shifts its focus. It stops making a list of all the reasons it can't work, and it starts actively hunting for all the ways it can. Suddenly, all those roadblocks start to look a lot more like pathways.
So this kind of powerful conviction does two incredibly important things. First, it gives you the permission you need to go after those huge goals that seem kind of crazy to everyone else. And second, that energy, it's contagious. It inspires the people around you to bring their A-game, their best and boldest ideas, not just their safest ones.
But, and this is a big but, what happens when that powerful engine is just running full throttle with no steering wheel, no brakes? Well, that's the ego trap. That's when your conviction sours and turns into arrogance. And let me tell you, it's one of the fastest ways to completely derail a great idea or even a great career.
And one of the sneakiest disguises for this ego trap is perfectionism. We love to tell ourselves we just have high standards. But a lot of the time, what's really going on is our ego is just terrified of being criticized. So we delay, we tweak, we polish endlessly, not to actually make the thing better for the customer, but to protect ourselves from anyone telling us it's not good enough.
Let me give you a perfect example of this. The band Steely Dan. They were absolute legends for being perfectionists in the studio, crafting these mathematically flawless albums. They were so obsessed with that perfection that for years they flat out refused to tour because they believed it was impossible to replicate that perfect studio sound live. Their ego just couldn't handle the idea of an imperfect show. But here's the punchline. When they finally did start touring, the audiences went absolutely nuts for it. They loved the live energy, the spontaneity, the raw humanity of it all, imperfections included. It's such a powerful lesson. Sometimes valuable is so much more important than perfect. Okay, so if conviction is the engine and ego is the trap, what's the solution? It's humility. But let's be super clear here. This is not about being weak or passive. This is about strategic humility, the guidance system that steers all that conviction towards real, lasting success. So how do you actually practice this stuff? Well, it really just boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you own it. When you mess up, you take full accountability, no excuses. Second, you welcome it. You start treating feedback not like an attack, but like a competitive advantage. And third, you amplify it. You actively look for ways to boost the ideas and the intelligence of everyone on your team. In fact, here's a little pro tip for handling criticism. The next time someone gives you really harsh feedback, your first instinct is going to be to get defensive. Don't. Instead, just pause and ask yourself this one simple question. What is the real concern they're trying to tell me? That little reframe can turn a nasty conflict into a game-changing insight.
And all of this gets to the heart of that third point, amplifying others. You see, the most effective leaders today, they don't need to dominate every conversation. They orchestrate them. They create a space where the best idea wins, period, no matter who it came from. You become more like a conductor of intelligence, not just the source of it. So let's bring this all home. When you combine that powerful engine of conviction with the smart guidance system of humility, you get to this ideal state, what we're calling the humble narcissist. It's all about finding that winning balance.
And here's really how it all fits together, nice and simple. Your conviction, that's the engine driving you forward. But if you leave it unchecked, it leads straight to arrogance. Your humility, that's your guidance system, keeping you on the right track. But too much of it can lead to indecision. The magic, the real goal, happens right there in the balance. That's where you find sustainable success.
And here is the ultimate takeaway. In the world we live in today, winning isn't about having the most brilliant idea right out of the gate. It's about having the conviction to get started, and then having the humility to learn and adapt faster than anybody else. That is the real competitive advantage.
So, as you head into your next big project, I want you to ask yourself this question. It's not if you should be confident or humble, it's when. When is the right moment to push forward with total conviction? And when is the right moment to just pause and listen? Mastering that, that's the whole game.